Today, we share a story from a lady from Singapore called Myra. She told us of how she got healed of kidney failure miraculously. This story will inspire you and give you hope that all things are possible and miracles exist. Support us by subscribing to our channel for more inspiring stories. Now let's dive right into Myra's story. Each morning, as the sun's golden rays spilled through my window, I reminded myself to smile. It wasn't for me, it was for my students. Their laughter and curiosity were the light of my life, even on the days when my body felt like it was carrying the weight of the world. The ache in my side was no longer just a dull throb. It had become a relentless companion, reminding me with every step, every breath, that my kidneys were failing me. I had grown skilled at hiding it. My colleagues saw the cheerful teacher who always had a story to share or a kind word to spare. My students, bless their little hearts, thought I was invincible. But inside, I was crumbling. Layla, my best friend since college, was the only one who truly saw through the facade. She would pull me aside, her brow creased with worry, and ask, "Myra, are you sure you're okay? You don't have to do this alone." Her concern was a balm, but even she couldn't change the reality. The waiting list for a kidney transplant was impossibly long, and my options were shrinking. That evening, after a particularly grueling day, I sat in my tiny living room, staring at the stack of medical bills I could barely afford to look at. The pain had worsened, sharp and unforgiving, as if mocking me for trying to pretend I was fine. I dropped my head into my hands and let the tears flow freely. "God," I whispered through the sobs, "I don't know what to do anymore. Please, if you're listening, guide me. Help me find strength, or a sign, or anything." Exhausted, I dragged myself to bed, unsure if I was asking for a miracle or simply the courage to face another day. That night, my dream was unlike any I'd ever had. It was vivid, almost too real. A man I had never seen before stood before me, dressed simply in white, his eyes kind but piercing. Without a word, he reached out and placed his hand gently over my side. I froze, unsure whether to recoil or lean into the warmth radiating from his touch. He began to pray, his voice soft but steady, carrying a strange authority. I couldn't make out the words, but I felt them, like waves of light washing over me, soothing every ache and fear. The warmth spread through my body, chasing away the pain that had become second nature. When I woke up, I lay in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling. The dream was so vivid, so strange, that it felt impossible to dismiss. Yet, how could I explain it to anyone without sounding ridiculous? As I swung my legs over the side of the bed, something hit me. The pain, my constant shadow, wasn't there. I pressed my hand to my side, half expecting the familiar twinge, but nothing. My breath caught in my throat. Was this real? Or just my mind playing tricks? I shook my head, trying to brush off the thought. A dream couldn't heal me, could it? Too afraid to hope, I resolved to keep the experience to myself, for now. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter. At first, I chalked it up to a rare good day. But as I moved through my small apartment, something was undeniably different. The dull ache that usually gnawed at my side was gone. Completely gone. I touched the spot where the pain had been, half expecting it to flare up, but there was nothing. My body felt normal. It had been so long since I'd felt normal that I barely knew what to do with myself. As the morning went on, the energy coursing through me became undeniable. I cleaned the kitchen, folded laundry, even danced a little to the radio, all tasks I'd avoided for weeks because they left me drained. "Okay, Myra, slow down," I muttered to myself. "Don't get your hopes up." But the thought nagged at me, what if this wasn't just a fluke? What if it had something to do with the dream? At school, the day was a blur of lessons, laughter, and more energy than I'd felt in years. By lunch, Layla cornered me in the teacher's lounge. "You're glowing," she said, narrowing her eyes. "What's going on?" I hesitated, unsure how to explain without sounding ridiculous. But Layla wasn't the type to let things go. Finally, I caved. "Okay, This is going to sound crazy, I began, lowering my voice. But I had this dream last night. A man, someone I've never seen before, was praying for me. And now, I gestured to myself. I feel like this. Layla's eyebrows shot up. You mean no pain? No exhaustion? I nodded. None. Not a single thing. She leaned in closer, her face serious. Myra, you need to get checked out. This could be something big. Her words lingered in my mind until I finally made the call to my doctor. They squeezed me in for an appointment the next day. The tests were thorough, blood work, imaging, everything they could think of. As I sat in the sterile examination room, I braced myself for bad news. But when the doctor returned, his face was a mixture of confusion and disbelief. Myra, he began, I don't know how to explain this, but your kidneys are functioning perfectly. Completely normal. My heart leapt. What does that mean? Is it possible the tests before were wrong? He shook his head. No, your previous results were clear, there was significant damage. But now, it's as if it's all been reversed. His words felt surreal, like I was floating in some dreamlike haze. The doctor's voice faded into the background as I sat there, stunned. It wasn't just in my head, something extraordinary had happened. When I told Layla, she was ecstatic. Myra, this is a miracle. You know that, right? I nodded slowly. It has to be. But who was he? The man in my dream? That evening, curiosity took over. I sat down with my laptop and started searching. I didn't know what I was looking for, maybe stories of miraculous healings, or prayers, or him. After an hour of scrolling, a thumbnail caught my eye, a video titled The Traveling Preacher of Hope. My breath hitched. The man in the video looked eerily familiar. He was dressed simply, his voice calm but filled with conviction as he prayed for a crowd. It was him. The man from my dream. My hands trembled as I clicked on the video. Who was he? And how had he appeared in my dream? Questions swirled in my mind as I watched him speak. I had to find him. The moment I stepped into the large, open-air pavilion, a wave of emotions washed over me. The space was alive with energy, yet there was a palpable stillness too, a reverence that quieted even the restless murmurs of the crowd. I had spent days tracing the preacher's upcoming events, and now here I was, standing among hundreds of strangers who had come seeking the same thing, hope. Some carried burdens written plainly on their faces, illness, sorrow, fear, while others wore expressions of quiet faith. The preacher, the man from my dream, was at the front, his calm presence commanding attention without demanding it. His words flowed like a gentle stream, weaving stories of healing, resilience, and the mysteries of faith. As he spoke, I felt an undeniable pull, as if he were addressing me directly. When the gathering concluded, people began to approach him, forming a line to share their stories or seek his prayers. My nerves battled with my determination as I took my place in the queue. What would I even say? Finally, it was my turn. As I stepped forward, he looked at me with the same piercing kindness I had seen in my dream. Hello, he said warmly. What's on your heart? I swallowed hard. I think you came to me in a dream, I said, my voice trembling. I was sick, my kidneys weren't working. But after the dream, everything changed. The doctors said it was impossible, but I know it wasn't. It was you, wasn't it? He listened intently, his expression thoughtful. When I finished, he nodded slowly. Sometimes, he said, his voice gentle, prayers travel in ways we can't explain. They cross boundaries of time, space, even understanding. I don't know how or why, but if my prayer reached you, it wasn't me, it was grace working through me. Tears blurred my vision as his words sank in. I wasn't just healed, I was part of something bigger than myself, something I couldn't fully comprehend, but could only feel deeply grateful for. What you've experienced, he continued, is a gift. Share it. Let others see that even in the darkest moments, there is light to be found. I nodded, overwhelmed but resolute. In the weeks that followed, I poured my energy into creating something meaningful. I started a community initiative to raise awareness about kidney health and organ donation. With Layla's help, we organized a fundraiser that brought together doctors, patients, and survivors to share their stories of resilience. As I stood before the crowd at the event, I recounted my journey, my illness, the dream, and the unexplainable healing that followed. The room was silent as I spoke, not because of disbelief, but because of shared hope. I don't have all the answers, I told them, my voice steady with conviction. But I know this, even when we feel alone, even when the road ahead seems impossible, there is always a chance for light to break through. That night, as I looked out over the sea of faces, I realized something profound. My journey wasn't just about my healing, it was about finding purpose in the miracle I'd been given. I never saw the preacher again, but his word stayed with me. Grace had touched my life, and now it was my turn to pass it on. Life returned to its rhythm, but it was a different rhythm now, a lighter one. My days as a teacher felt more meaningful, and my evenings were often spent organizing support groups and outreach programs for kidney health. I no longer carried the burden of fear or exhaustion, instead, I carried a sense of purpose. As for the preacher, I never heard of him again. His presence in my life remained an enigma, a moment of divine intervention that I chose to accept without question. Sometimes, I would sit by my window at night, staring at the stars and wondering if he was out there, helping someone else the way he helped me. The dream became a story I told often, not to glorify the mystery, but to remind people that miracles come in many forms. For some, they are moments of unexplainable grace, for others, they are the steady hands of a surgeon, the love of a friend, or the resilience found within themselves. And so, I lived my life differently, grateful for each day, inspired by the unexpected, and committed to sharing the light I had found. The miracle wasn't just in the healing, it was in the transformation that followed. I had been given a gift, and in honoring it, I had found my true purpose. Looking back, I realized that sometimes, the answers we seek come in ways we least expect. And when they do, they don't just heal our bodies, they heal our hearts, too. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect on the miracles in your own life, big or small. Share this story with someone who needs a little hope today, and let's spread the light together. Remember, you never know how far a simple prayer or act of kindness can reach. Stay inspired, stay hopeful, and let grace guide your journey.